Three, two, one. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Weathered and Forged podcast. It's been a while. I hope you guys all, had a good Christmas time, good New Year, and everything. And we're looking to start the year off strong and get back into the groove of things. Yeah, here we are.
Yeah, Yeah, we meant to do one or two over Christmas, and then we had some technical difficulties and have
Yeah,
been trying to work that out. We've got it worked out for now. By no means are we experts on this. And then, yeah, the holidays hit, and we took a little time off, but we're back. We're back and at it, so that's good.
yeah,
So
we've been slacking, but we appreciate you guys sticking in there, hanging in there with us and everything. And especially those of you that have reached out and been like, hey, when are you guys going to post? So
yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah,
we appreciate
yeah,
the
yeah.
accountability and everything.
We actually found out that people were actually watching this, so that's good. I'm
Yeah.
glad to know that. Yeah,
Gives
at
us
least
more
one or two
incentive to
anyway.
post,
So yeah,
But yeah, we're it's the start of a new year, and with the start of a new year comes challenges. It also can, cause a little bit of a spike in anxiety and everything. And so we thought we'd get on here today and talk about, good ways and good habits to start in the new year. And we've got three of those that we can talk about. Physically, a good thing to start physically, a good thing to start spiritually, and a good thing to start mentally. So let's start. Um, I'll start with physically. Dad, what is something you do when you're, stressed out physically, or something you're trying to start in the new year physically on a good start?
so something I'm trying to pull up an old post where I can kind of read from some of this too. So okay, I've got it. Um, for me, number one, physically, I just get get to moving. Over the past 3 or 4 years, I've really gotten into hiking and walking a lot and everything. And I can tell when I haven't been on it as much. In the past 5 or 6 months, I don't know if I've shared on here, but I've had some challenges and stuff and had to go some different directions and let that slip for a while. And man, it made a difference. But that's the one thing I would say is getting physically active. I saw something a while back that says do something that makes you sweat every day. That doesn't mean you have to do CrossFit. That doesn't mean you have to lift heavy or whatever. We're all different shapes and body types and all that. And you and I are at different ages. So, lifting for you and lifting for me are different things now. So, for me, it's getting out and walking. It's kind of hard right now. We've got 5 inches of snow on the ground and it's still coming. So all the walking I did with you last week, now it's kind of, but it's just part of it. But one thing that a couple of things I'm really focusing on going into the new year on the walking is even as the weather gets cold, I usually go later in the day, but I'm going to try to get up and do walk for 20 or 30 minutes to start the day. Just get some movement to start the day. I think that's really important. I think studies show that that kind of helps clear your mind and get things going. The other thing I'm going to work on, not the weight room, but getting back into some strength band stuff and things like that. But I think it's getting in a routine of doing that. You don't have to do it every day. Yeah, it's preferable, but man, if you can get out just starting two, three, 4 times a week to do it, and I read something again a while back on this too. Even if you go for a 20-minute walk a day, that's a Facebook scroll. So
Mhm.
you think about it. The average Facebook or social media scroll is 20 minutes. If you took that and went and walked over a period of time, how much further ahead would that get you? That get you a long way. So that's me. I just think you got to get out and move and get your endorphins going. Get your body woke up, get your metabolism to rolling a little bit.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to, you don't got to, like you said, you don't got to do anything super extraneous or anything like that because, like, especially with developing new habits, a lot of people tend to go overboard on the very first day when they start and like that's only going to make you hate it and like not want to do it again, is if it's like super hard and the next day you just feel like total crap after. It's like, man, like why am I even doing this? The I think it's January 9th or I think it's the second Monday in January is called Quitter's Day for
Yeah.
your New Year's resolutions. And that's hard. Like that's like National Quitters Day because everybody drops everything that they've said they were going to work on this year by that time. And it's hard with the cold weather and everything because you feel like, I mean, if you miss one day, it's like, well, like I'm never going to go back to like doing it and stuff like that. I know for me, like physically, I'm like, trying to put some weight and muscle back on and just try and get up and move around. More. But honestly, the biggest thing for me has been diet and sleep. They say, especially for men, if you're sleeping 6 hours or below every night consistently, that cuts your testosterone count in half. And so if that cuts in half, there goes your strength, your ability to think properly, and then there goes your physical like health and stuff like that. So you're going to get sick a lot easier and stuff like that. So that's one thing. As much as you need to get up and go and like push yourself a little bit, always take the time to rest and recoup after that and take care of yourself in between, because not only is exercise going to be super good for you, what you put into your body as well as what you're putting out when you work out is just as important. So um eating healthy like greens and stuff, and you don't got to eat them like every single meal, but at least getting some of that in, taking vitamin D, especially during the winter, is going to be super important for you because you're going to be in a deficit of it with the sun not being around as much and everything. uh so that's kind of what I've been working on physically going into the new year.
Well, I think it's important too. People need to know about you that don't know you. Saw the your freshman year of college before you went, you got with a personal trainer guy that was here in town that's been doing it for years, and Sam does a great job. And
Hmm.
he got you on some eating habits and some lifting and everything. So, that's what I would tell people listening to us. When Sawyer's talking about it, he knows it. He's been living it for 4 or 5 years and done well. In fact, we had people when you were home over Christmas going, man, he's still in good shape. He's still so that's not just a 23-year-old talking about. I mean, that's something you live and you do daily. Something I would add in too before we go on. The sleep deal's huge. I started getting before 4 years ago, I was getting 5 to 6 hours of sleep a night, and man, I slept 10 or 12 for the first week after all my stuff went down because I was finally catching up. And I can tell the difference now if I don't get 7 or 8 verses. But the other thing I do too is uh, I heard a basketball coach, Chris Beard, who used to be at Texas Tech in Texas. I think he's at Ole Miss now. He tells his players, eat something with color in it every day. Just get some color. We all know we need protein and all that, but get some color in your diet. So what does that mean? It's fruits and vegetables. It's pretty simple. If you don't have to eat a lot of it, but if you got a little bit of that going on every day, yeah, I think that's a good way to start. And we're talking about the new year. I used to do resolutions. I don't do resolutions anymore. Resolutions are why the second Friday or Monday or whatever in January happens because we resolve to do it. We don't get it done the way we need to, and everybody quits. You just got to build a routine, and it takes time. It doesn't happen in 2 weeks in January. It's going to take 90 days or so to really get in a groove. So no, I think
Yeah.
I think you're right on the physical part for sure. So
Yeah, and it's not like I'm, super jacked or anything like that, but it's like, I mean, you can the things you eat, ultimately dictate like what happens in your body and stuff like that. So if you're eating fast food all the time, I started looking at food differently whenever I started dieting and stuff. It was like fast food and stuff just kind of started tasting like gray slush. Like it was all just like this nasty, like over processed and everything. And I was just like, God, this can't be good like looking at it, I'm like, that doesn't really look that great. So imagine like what it's like doing inside of me to like,
It's working through your intestinal tract. What's
oh,
that? Yeah, what's that doing to you?
oh
That's right.
God, that just ruins you. Yeah. But
Well, you know, you mentioned something too in Michael Strahan, which he played for the New York Giants for a long time, and now he's on ABC.
yeah.
Uh, does a lot of sportscasts and stuff. He says instead of thinking about living to eat, eat to live, and that when I just remember that every day, eat to live, that changes your whole outlook on what you're doing. Instead of making dinner an event of how much you can eat, eating the right stuff, fueling your body, just like when you put gas in your car or something, something that you prize. If it's a classic car or something like that, you take care of it. You watch the oil you put in it. You watch the gas. Same thing for your body should apply to. So good
Mm.
point. And I'm working on that. I kind of let that go the last 5 or 6 months of this past year and working on that's a for me, that's a big piece I'm working on getting back is physical. And it's like my doctor told me, Dr. Tony, he told me a few years ago, he goes, look, you're not ever going to be a supermodel. Not that you ever were. And I'm like, well, thanks a lot, Tony. But I'm 53 years old. I'm not looking to get ripped. I'm looking to live and have a quality of life as long as I can. So
Yeah.
I think that's important. So
No, absolutely. And it's if your goal before we get into the second one, if your goal for the new year is to lose weight or drop pounds or stuff like that, yeah, moving and exercising is going to be huge for you. Eating in a caloric deficit, tracking your calories, and eating high protein will do wonders for your body because that protein will store as a muscle cell, stores in your muscle cells, and burns those fat cells quicker. So that's a good way to drop some pounds in the new year. And leading into our next one, something to do uh mentally for me is I kind of struggle differentiating mentally and spiritually heading into the new year. But a thing for me mentally is I just want to get to a place where I am, mental and physical kind of goes hand in hand. I mean, it's all your nervous system
it
and
all works
everything,
together. Yeah.
yeah, working together. And so I want to get to a point where I can, you know, no matter what life throws at me, I can be okay with the result of it. And so, for my mental and everything, um, I've started, taking things at not always face value, but just of this happened in the moment. And if I can control it, I can. And if I can't, then it was something that I was never going to be able to get my hands on. And I think that's hard, especially in these winter months, for people to realize is like not everything is in your control. And you're gonna just have to let some things go. So that's kind of what my mental approach is for the coming year is just being better about really not beating myself up when I do struggle and just realizing that, I am a human being and I am like allowed to struggle and that, 1 hour I can mess up and the next hour I can be right back on track. So that's kind of what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
you.
I'd say on the mental end, and you got to think you mentally, spiritually, and physically, you got to think about it all the same. Your intake dictates your output. Whatever you're taking in physically is going to show on the outside on how you look. Whatever you're taking in mentally is going to show up in how you react and what you say and what you do. And same thing spiritually. Whatever you're putting down in your soul is going to come out as we deal relationally with others. But I think that the mental end. Like you were saying, I think a couple of things there. I'm just looking at some notes I had made on that. I'll tell you, um, you hit on something about not beating yourself up and quit being your own worst critic so much. I was kind of doing that over the past week or so, trying to get some things, past couple of weeks, getting some things right. And I have to remember, even with me and some of my recovery stuff I've been through, it's been 3.5 years. Well, when you've been doing stuff for 20 years, 3.5 versus 20 years, I mean, that's different. So you have to take in stride of, okay, I messed that up, but I'm going to come back and fix that. I'm not going to make it perfect, but okay, we all make mistakes. We got to move on with that, you know. So I think slowing down, taking situations one at a time, understanding them for what they are. I thought you made a really good point too of control what you can control. The rest of it, it's out of your control. Quit worrying about it. You know, the Serenity Prayer. I love the Serenity Prayer, and it's not just for AA or addicts or whatever, but you know, it talks about, you know, give me the wisdom to know the things I can control and the wisdom to know the things I can and can't control or something like that, and the wisdom to know the difference. I got to know the difference between I can control this or I can't. So I think that's a big deal. Um, on the mental too, I'm going to go back to input. I think reading or listening to podcasts or books or whatever, you know, watch what you're putting in, you know.
Hmm.
And if you're putting in stuff and gossip, guess what's gonna, you know, bad input's gonna equal bad output. So I've really focused on what I'm listening to, what I'm putting in and everything. And that's what I would say mentally too is I would make sure you're reading or journaling, you know, 20, 30 minutes a day or listening to something.
Hmm.
I just think it's really, really important. Talk to men all the time about journaling, and we as men are not much on writing, and I wasn't either. But when I started journaling 3 years ago, I haven't stopped since. It's one of the most important things that I can do, and it helps keep me grounded mentally. It helps keep me focused and in the moment, but it also helps me discern. You know, there's certain things that I can't do anything about, so I just got to throw them away. You know,
Yeah.
that's one thing. I got this from the lead singer of Coldplay. I was listening to him on CBS Sunday Morning a while back, and he was talking about he suffers from stress and anxiety syndrome sometimes, and he said mornings where he gets up and he's really stressed for 10 minutes, he writes all the things that are bothering him. He said it's usually nothing he can control, but all the things he's worried about and all that. And he said when he gets done, he takes a cigarette lighter and he burns it up so it's gone. I don't smoke, so I don't have a cigarette lighter. What I do on those mornings is I wad it up really tight. When I go walking, I throw it into the dumpster. And it's amazing what that act of taking all those worries and throwing it away physically will do. So I think mentally, it's just really slowing down and again, watching what you put in. If you're not much of a reader, get on Audible, get on podcasts and you know, don't get into the crap to the stuff. And I'm sorry, there's a lot of that out there. I mean, we're talking about uh, social norms these days. You can get into a lot of that stuff, man. Find something that makes you better. Find something that's of interest to you that will make. And I think that's really simple too. Is as I'm looking at things mentally, is this or anything I'm doing, is this making me better or not? If it's not making me better, I just don't need to be doing it. You
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah. I think you need, yeah, I think people, especially now, you need to be cautious of your like outlook on life because I mean, there's this saying that, anything you look for in life, you'll find. So if you're only looking for like the negative things that are happening to you, I mean, it can be something as small as, you dropped your fork and that could be like, well, nothing in my life is going right. I'm dropping this, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. When you could easily look at that and flip it of like, okay, like let's look at all the good things that I have going on or like all the good things around me. And you can still work to improve on, the negative things that are happening around you. But if you're letting that dictate your life, that's all you're ever going to see. And it's going to, one, affect you mentally to the point where you're like, you know what? I'm not feeling that great. I don't want to get up and go do my walk like I said I was. I don't really want to eat I don't want to eat this like food that I prepared. I'm just going to run down to Burger King and grab something real quick just to fuel that, and then you fall right back into those habits that you've been trying to kick. And it's a slippery slope. And when that does, or if that does happen, you've got to forgive yourself and realize, you know what? If I don't forgive myself, I'll never get out of it. And if I do, then that's just, hey, I messed up. It's part of life, and I'll go back and try and do it better tomorrow.
you know that's one thing I talk to guys about is I help them with recovery of whatever they're recovering from. You know, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter if it's a substance or if it's an issue or whatever. But you know, you can't love others until you love yourself.
Mhm.
number one. You can't forgive others until you forgive yourself. So we're our own worst critic. And so many times when you see people walking around, they're so critical of others and everything, it's because they don't love themselves and they haven't forgiven themselves. So you've really got to work to be okay with yourself and okay with where you are and understand that you may have a day where you get a ton better, but there's going to be a lot of days in between where it's just little 1% wins. I mean, keep hitting singles. Don't hit the home run, even mentally. I mean, take each day for what it is. I mean, if you're a pessimist and sarcastic by nature, that didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to change by January 10th. I can promise you that. It takes time. It really
Mhm.
does. So, yeah, I just think the mental end of just being okay with yourself. Again, the mental end's going to affect what you eat. What you eat's going to affect the mental end too. It all kind of works hand in hand, goes along with homeostasis in your body. Homeostasis is your body has a level that whatever you've done for the past 24 hours is going to dictate what happens the next 24. And your body likes to work like this. Well, a lot of times we do this to our bodies and then we wonder why we act out and react to people, so
Exactly.
mentally the same thing, staying calm, watching what you're feeding your mind. And that is, people don't understand, man. Okay, mentally get off social media, just do it. And I've actually I posted one time in the new year, and I just did it today, and it was just over. I was watching President Carter's funeral, and President Carter, regardless of your politics, he was one of the sweetest and most caring men and humanitarians in the world. And I just posted on him. But outside of that, that's something I'm working on is getting off of there. I mean, Facebook world's not real. We all know that, but we still get on there and we want to say it's real. But just treat yourself better mentally. Watch what you're putting in. Watch and see what happens with the output of that too, and then read something good, man. Listen to something good.
Yeah.
Listen to something that's going to help you. So
Yeah, it's the same thing as watching what you eat. I mean, watching what food you feed your brain, because if all you're doing is sitting around watching TikToks or like how bad things are going in the US or stuff like that, I mean, then that's all the media you consumed, and that's all you're ever going to think is negative and how awful things are when there's a lot of good things going on, a lot of beauty in the world, and it's you're going to let all of that pass you by because you've got your head down, worried about, all these things when again, that's probably not something you can control. And if you could, then it probably wouldn't be happening that way, you know.
quit wasting time, wasting your time. It's
Exactly.
real. I mean, that's it.
That's what
That's
it,
all time
yeah,
wasted.
that's what it
Yeah,
breaks down to. And
that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
yeah. And leading into the third one, spiritually, spirituality looks different for everybody. I mean, there's a reason why there's, some a town will have so many different churches is because, one person can't agree with what one person said, and this person doesn't agree with what this other person said. Um, and there's so many different religions, there's so many different ideas of what's really out there and everything. And for me personally, my spirit, what I'm trying to do spiritually is just kind of reconnect to me and drop into being grounded in the moment, in situations and in life, and really just allowing myself to enjoy that moment when it comes and enjoy the successes that I have in the moment, and realize that I don't have to always be planning for the future, and I don't always have to be, worried about the future or what's to come or stuff like that, because that induces and like creates that anxiety of like, you know, okay, well, I reached this goal. Well, I can't feel good about it for too long. I gotta go and like move on and like get to the next goal. Allow yourself, or allowing myself to feel my successes, whether, big or small, is something that I'm really trying to work on. And realizing that, uh, trying to reconnect to me and the higher power that I think is out there. Okay, how do I navigate my life and do the things that I want to do, and still at the end of the day be a good person about it. And that's kind of the stuff that I'm working on in the new year spiritually right now.
Real quick, I'm going to go back to the mental real quick because I was talking about journaling. You mentioned something earlier too. My brother's mentioned this before, Mitch, and it's something that I was taught to do, and I don't do it as often. Gratitude list. Get up in the morning, write 3 or 5 things down you're thankful for. Same thing at night would be better. Yeah, but yeah, the spiritual end, and you and I've had some long talks about this the past couple of weeks. I think too, what you're talking about is when you get grounded in you, you're actually connecting with your higher power because I don't care what religion you believe. If you look at all the major religions in the world, they believe in a higher power, in a spirit, and that spirit dwells inside of you. And you know me, I've always said I don't get into splitting hairs with that. I have beliefs of what I have, but I deal with guys that have a lot of different beliefs. And what I always tell people is my belief is you got to get down to the end of the day that there's something bigger than what's going on here. It's not just about this. But when you get to that, then there's that higher power out there, right? And what you're saying is as you connect with yourself, I'm connecting with that higher power, that spirit inside of me that's leading me to be the true, authentic version of who I was created to be. There's 8 billion of us on the planet. If we were all the same, it'd be a really boring place. Each one of us were created to be here for a different reason and a unique reason. So, yeah, reconnecting spirits, and I think you're right. Sorry, I think it's getting down to here of who I am. And you and I talked about a lot of that last week, and what happens a lot of times. So here we go again. I don't take care of myself physically, whether it's what I'm putting in my body or I just cleaned my office today, getting ready for the new year. I'm not keeping things clean. It's in chaos or whatever. Well, that's going to affect me mentally, which that's going to affect me spiritually because all that is getting you disconnected from your higher power, whatever that is, because your higher power, whoever that is, for me, it's God, but for whoever it is all of that creates disconnect from what your higher power is really wanting you to go in that direction you're wanting to be. So I've kind of done the same thing of really simplifying. Two words that have been on my mind to start the year for me have been surrender and wait. And they have come up in conversations. They have come up in men's group studies I've been in. They've come up in devotionals I've read. We'll talk more about that in a minute too. But it's the surrendering of, there just comes times in your life you got to let certain things go. Things that you've done that maybe haven't hurt you, maybe they have, but they're not going to help you to get to the next place. Well, if they're not helping you to get to the next place, you got to drop them. And I've shared with you some of mine. Um, and then waiting. We get into this new year and man, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And boy, by June, it's going to look like that. Whoa, 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 time out. Wait. Just work in the moment, work on the work in front of you. What's right in front of you? Yeah, I got targets out here. I got goals, whatever, but I got to do the work in front of me to get there. And just that idea of waiting, slow down and wait. It's a day at a time. We're playing the long game here. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and I've got a dear friend that he's been in recovery for about 6 8 months now as an alcoholic, hasn't drank, and he told me the other day, he said, Landon, he said, I think the destination is the journey and the journey is the destination. Now when you think about that, that's pretty spiritual. The destination is the journey and the journey is the destination. That means we're on this thing every day and we're going somewhere. And if we're gonna allow our spirit to guide us, then that's gonna take us somewhere really cool. And it's a journey. We're never gonna get there. We're not perfect. Nobody's perfect down here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the same way. Reconnecting, slowing things down. I'm really watching what I'm going back and reading again. I've gotten, depending on what your religion or philosophy is, I do devotional readings every morning. I read little bits out of the Bible every day. That's what I do. Again, I think that goes back to the mental of the way you get it to root down in your spirit is you got to use your mental. You got to read, you got to ingest some things because if you don't ingest anything, then it can't sit down here. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I get what
Uh,
you mean.
so if I can get it to root down here and stay positive, then like you say, as I go down and start digging, I start finding some pretty good things down there, and that leads me on this path that I need to be on.
No,
So
exactly. It's just like me and my girlfriend Lexi are trying to like, move in together. And I think the waiting thing is really good because, I tend to get in a habit of like, I want like let's get it like why can't I like get it now? Like why can't I like get things done now? And I'm like, yeah, these things like good things always take time. And so it's like that's one thing like we've been talking about is like every day like we're taking steps of getting there of like okay, well like let's do this and then we'll like think about that and then we go from here to that and then we go from this side to that side but it's just about like working at the moment and realizing like hey, like, I'm not, it's not like I'm farther away from that goal. I'm closer to that goal. I'm just having to do little building blocks at a time to reach what I want to do, And so that good stuff takes time and everything. And that's some stuff that me and her have talked about. But every time we talk about it, I'm like, okay, yeah, it feels like I'm working on that, but I'm also connecting back to myself of realizing that cool, like I still like can work on that and also like work on like my physical goals for the year or my mental goals for the year and I can still like all of that encompasses and like ties together and it feels like it all kind of like we said works in unison of like yeah, I'm working on something that is more than just myself. I'm working for something that's bigger and greater than myself. I'm also working on myself physically and how I feel and how I look and everything like that. And then I'm working on myself mentally of, being okay when I don't hit my goal for the day or if I slip one day or if I mess up one day, being able to forgive myself and come back and be like, oh, okay, here's where this went wrong. Let's just try and do it better the next day. And that's kind of uh, I think that's kind of cool. I'm trying to wrap it up because Zoom will kick us off here in like 6 minutes. But yeah.
well, thing I'd say, I think one word to wrap all this up, that I think you can find physically, mentally, and spiritually is as you're digging down here. And I'm going to ask you, as you dig down in there, have you felt the sense of relief of it, the world kind of goes, as you started digging?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's all on
Yeah.
your shoulders all the
Yeah.
time.
So
Yeah.
what that is, and what I tell people, it's contentment. It's I am content with where I am right now.
Hmm.
Is this exactly where I want to be? No, but I can be content as long as I can be content and okay with where I am physically, mentally, and spiritually. Now you're going somewhere. When you're just not happy and you're fed up and all that, man, you're going to fight that hamster on the wheel. And January 10th is going to be every other week for you. I mean, you're going to quit something every other week. So when I can find that contentment, find a way to be okay with being okay. Be okay with. I mean, hey, it's just like I tell people, when you're reconnecting spiritually, with God, God's not needing you at any specific place. He's going to meet you right where you're at. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's the whole process. But we feel like we get, oh man, I got to get this before I go back to church. I got to get that before I re-engage. No, you got to meet life right where you are. And sometimes that's the hard. I'll tell you this, and I know we need to wrap up. It's the hardest work you'll ever do is working on yourself, truly working on yourself, but it is the most beneficial. And if you guys will get past January 10th and continue to work, sky's the limit. It's amazing what we can do as humans when we start doing that and find that contentment in life. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's an important time. I say it's an important time of year. It's just because it's a year of starts, and don't look at it that way. Look at it as change. I'm changing where I'm going this year. I'm pivoting. I'm not going down this road. I'm taking a left turn and going this way this time.
You're
So
welcome. Yeah. And we would love to hear from you guys, stuff you're wanting to work on in the new year, looking to
Yeah.
work on in the new year, feel free to drop us a comment, below our videos or on Spotify or whatever. And then you can always email us at the link below in the description. You can always email us questions, anything, even just to share what you're working on, struggles that you're going through. We're happy to read it, talk to you, text you or talk to you about it personally, or, bring it up on the podcast, stuff like that. But, you know, as we move into the new year, we just, thank you guys for always, listening and supporting, and, let's make it a good year, and we will, you know, look at being more consistent than we have been.
There's a resolution or a goal for us. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're glad to be back though.
yeah.
I'm
we're,
glad we're back and doing this now. It was just, yeah, it's good.
yeah, we needed to get back on it. But
Yep.
yeah, we appreciate you guys, and just make this year your year, and try to make it the best you can, and be the best you can. And that looks different every day. Just remember that.
Yep.
All righty, y'all. Have a good one.
All right. Take care. Be there for somebody.